All right, today we're going to take a guided tour of the most complex, most incredible machine ever built. Seriously, it's a supercomputer that generates every single thought, feeling, and action you've ever had. And you know what the best part is? You own one. So let's dive into your brain.
So let me ask you, what is the most sophisticated piece of engineering known to humanity? It's not some fancy supercomputer or a spaceship headed for Mars. Nope. It's the 3-pound universe sitting right between your ears. We're going to explore it from the inside out, starting with the very foundations.
So, our tour kicks off in the oldest, most ancient part of the brain, the part that evolved first and is really dedicated to just one single critical mission, keeping you alive. This is your survival brain.
Right at the very base, the part that connects your brain to your spinal cord, you've got the brainstem. You can think of it as the brain's power supply and life support. It handles all the critical stuff that you never ever have to think about. It is the ultimate autopilot.
Okay, let's zoom in on this little area right here at the bottom, the medulla. This tiny structure is your automatic life support system, working tirelessly 24/7 to control your heartbeat and your breathing. It is the true unsung hero of your survival, for sure.
Now, tucked away at the back is another absolutely crucial player, the cerebellum. Its name literally means little brain, but its job is anything but little. It's the reason you can walk without stumbling, catch a ball without even thinking, or ride a bike years after you first learned how.
And just look at its position here, kind of hanging off the back like a small separate brain. It's your very own organ of agility, coordinating all your voluntary movements to make them smooth, balanced, and precise. Every graceful dancer or skilled athlete has a highly trained cerebellum to thank for what they do.
Okay, we're now heading deeper into the brain, moving past the basic survival functions and into the area that gives our lives all its color, meaning, and motivation. This is the limbic system, your emotional core.
So this system is a whole collection of structures that sits right there in the middle of the brain. It's the source of our most powerful emotions. We're talking fear and aggression, and our most fundamental drives for things like food and sex.
Now, this emotional headquarters has several key players, and each one has a very distinct and fascinating job. So let's meet them.
First up is the thalamus. I want you to imagine a super busy, old-school telephone switchboard with an operator plugging in cables. That's the thalamus. It receives almost all of your incoming sensory information, what you see, hear, taste, and touch, and it directs those messages to the right parts of the brain for processing. The only sense that gets a VIP pass? Smell. It goes direct.
Next up, meet the amygdala. Now, don't let its tiny size fool you. These two little lima bean-sized clusters are the brain's alarm system, kind of like a smoke detector. They are constantly scanning for threats, and when they sense danger, they trigger that classic fight-or-flight response. It's responsible for all those heart-pounding moments of fear, and it's the part that can really go into overdrive with things like anxiety disorders.
And check this out. The amygdala sits right next to another critical structure, the hippocampus. Now, this close proximity is no accident. Emotion and memory are deeply, deeply connected. Just think about it. A powerful emotional experience is way more likely to get burned into your memory for good.
So, what's the hippocampus up to? Well, think of it as your brain's save button, or maybe its memory scrapbook. Now, it's not where memories are stored long-term, but it's the place where new explicit memories, things like what you had for breakfast or the capital of France, are processed and made ready for storage somewhere else.
All right, we've covered survival and emotion. Now we're going to ascend to the top floor, the executive suite, the part of the brain that makes us uniquely human, the cerebral cortex. This is your thinking cap.
This wrinkly outer layer of the brain is really the star of the show. It's where all our higher-level thinking, our planning, language, and perception happens. And all those wrinkles and folds, well, they're a super clever way to pack an enormous surface area of brain cells into our relatively small skulls. It's brilliant. The cortex isn't just one big blob of gray matter. It's actually neatly organized into 4 distinct sections, or lobes, and each one has its own set of specializations. Let's take a quick look at what each one does.
So each lobe has a primary job. The frontal lobe right behind your forehead, that's the CEO. It handles planning and judgment. Then you have the parietal lobe at the top, which processes touch and your body's position in space. The occipital lobe, way at the very back, that's your visual center. And finally, the temporal lobes on the sides handle everything you hear. It's this beautiful system of specialized labor.
But wait, the cortex has another level of organization. It's split right down the middle into two halves, the left and right hemispheres. And this, my friends, is where the story gets really, really interesting. How in the world do these two halves talk to each other?
Well, they communicate through this incredible structure, the corpus callosum. It's a massive bundle of neural fibers, basically a superhighway of information that lets the left and right sides of your brain work together seamlessly, sharing information back and forth millions of times per second.
So how do we know they specialize? Well, from these fascinating experiments on split-brain patients whose corpus callosum was severed. Look at this classic study. When the word face is flashed to the right visual field, it goes to the language-heavy left brain, and the patient says, "I see face." But when the same image is flashed to the left field, it goes to the right brain. The patient says they see nothing, but their left hand, which is controlled by the right brain, can draw it perfectly. It is absolutely mind-blowing stuff.
So this is what those experiments taught us. Now, while it's a bit of an oversimplification to say you're purely left-brained or right-brained, the hemispheres definitely have their specialties. The left is typically dominant for things like language, logic, and calculation, while the right side tends to excel at spatial reasoning, creative thought, and musical awareness. Okay, our tour is almost at its end, but I've saved the most hopeful and empowering part for last. See, for a long, long time, we thought the brain was pretty much fixed after childhood, but we now know that is completely wrong. Your brain is constantly changing. This incredible ability is called neuroplasticity. Every time you learn a new skill, form a new memory, or have a new experience, you are physically changing your brain's structure. It's also how the brain can recover from damage, with healthy areas taking over the jobs of injured ones. Your brain is a dynamic, living, adapting network. It's not set in stone.
So, we end our tour with this thought. You are the architect of your own brain. Every book you read, every skill you practice, every new idea you entertain physically rewires this incredible machine between your ears. Your brain is not fixed, it is a work in progress, and the only question is, what will you teach it to do next?